Magic 8 Ball, are we live?
We are live. We're Facebook Live here with Harry Shum Jr.
It says baby steps.
Baby steps? Okay. Did you ask it a question, though?
I said, are we live?
Okay. We are live. I'm Jim Halterman. I'm the West Coast Bureau Chief for TV Guide Magazine. This is Harry Shum Jr. We're going to talk about some Shadowhunters. We might do some throwback to some Glee questions.
Yeah.
All that stuff. We're here in the LA offices. Shadowhunters is back January 2nd.
Yes, it is.
8 o'clock on a freeform. So you guys, I mean, the trailer's running all the time.
Oh, yeah. Clips,
out.
Trailers, all out there.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So send us your questions and feel free to tell us where you're calling from. Where are you calling from? Because I have a feeling we might have some
2016 now.
Please call us on your dial-up phone. So anyway, so let's talk Shadowhunters first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Amazing stuff. So tell me, you had a little break between season 1 and 2. How was it to kind of step back into Magnus' shoes after a little time away?
You know, what's weird, when you step away from something and then you do, whether you do other projects, I think it's also, for me, it didn't feel like I had to readjust and get back into it. It just felt like, oh yeah, this is the character that I've kind of grown to love and understand, and now I can get to know him even more and even better this time around. So it was more of an excitement than anything.
Okay, and getting back into the makeup and the outfits, and your nails are looking...
Little bear?
A little bear, no black.
A little hairy-like? Yeah, no. I mean, all that is, to me, I look at it, it's just part of the costume. It's you don't... For me, I always try, like, I don't go around wearing, Magnus's jacket all the time, even though he has some funky, cool jackets. He does. But this time around, also, like, the makeup is a little slightly different. Just along that, you'll see the show itself, the tone and everything is a little different from season 1.
Okay, we already have a question.
Yeah.
Shocker. What's that question right there?
What was it like to kiss Matthew?
Mr. Daddario, who's not here with us today, but
he's not here. He's it's always a weird question. It's like, what is it like to kiss? I mean, what is it like for Magnus to kiss Alec? I mean, I think that's a more proper question, because I think for Magnus, it's sparks fly and it's magical, and there's something there that I think both of them can't really quite understand yet. So it's magical for Magnus.
Magical. What do you think when that premiere episode, or when they first see each other? I guess it wasn't the premiere, but when Magnus and Alec first met, what was it about him that drew Magnus in? Got his attention right away.
I think on obvious reasons. I think looks was something there, and I think there's this air and quality. I think he can also spot someone who's kind of hiding behind something.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's like the reason why he's attracted to him, but it's like this mystery that he wants to get to know, and from there it's just peeling off layers and trying to kind of prod and like slowly ask questions and figure a person out. And I think what he was seeing was intriguing, and he wanted to know more.
And Magnus was really patient, because he didn't need things to happen quickly.
Patient little cat.
I know, he was, but he knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
He knew what he wanted. Is Magnus's look different this year? Did they fine tune anything?
I think it's different from what you've seen in the trajectory of season 1, but it goes back to episode 1 in season 1. It's more similar to that look. You had more facial hair, and the hair was spiky, kind of like a little punk and a steampunk kind of look. And I think that was just always his look of his comfortable look. I think throughout the season 1, it was. I like to think of it when we talked to the writers. It was more of him trying to figure out how different tactics to try and get to talk to Alec and try and also he was in the mood where he was also, even though he's been alive for so long, trying to figure himself out. And that's, I think, what's intriguing about Magnus is, even though you think he would know it all, he's a know-it-all or knows it all, he really doesn't, and he still goes through these portions of his life where he's exploring as well.
And how old is Magnus?
We never really put an exact number on it, and I think when you're born during those times, you don't really keep record.
Yeah.
But I think it's in the span of about like over 400 years.
Okay. So
It's not too much.
A senior.
It's like someone. It's weird. It's like do you treat 100 years like 10 years? So is he really 40 in human years? What is it?
In warlock years.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, I'm Jim Halterman, the West Coast Bureau Chief of TV Guide Magazine. We're here with Harry Shum Jr. talking about Shadowhunters. Send us your questions. Tell us where you're from. We do have a question here. Did you read the books first to understand Magnus? When did you kind of go and read books?
Yeah, I mean, when you get cast in the role, you want to get as much information as you can about the characters. I think that's just with any actor. You want to be able to pull as much information about the character and about the world, and there comes a time with the information that you do have, then you start playing around with it, with how it will play in with the scenarios that are being played in the series for television. But the books are wonderful. Cassandra Clare is created this in very this world that has so many diverse types of characters, and what I love is someone like Magnus to exist in the world. I think is a good world in my eyes, and particularly when you start expanding it, and you have the Sealies, and you have the werewolves, and then and allow us to be able to have these stakes where it's not just about the world is ending, but about the relationships, which is, I think, what we're really getting into in this second season.
Yeah, and one thing we don't see, I don't know about the books as well, but in the show, you never see people kind of thrown off, like, you're a warlock, what? Like,
yeah.
People kind of accept that everybody's different, whether they're a warlock or werewolf. It's kind of just a common thing, which I think is quietly setting a good example.
I think it is. I think, obviously if you met a werewolf, you'd be like, yeah? What? Right now. But I think some people do that in reality already, and obviously they're not werewolves. They're just they have a different culture, they have a different background, they do things differently, and they eat different types of food. Which I think what it's becoming like when you see kind of the shadow world and the downworlders, that there is this miscommunication as well. So you will see that with. Not everyone's just holding hands and hoping, heal the world, which I think the idea is to get there, but there's a lot of separation and a lot of similarities, I guess, that we're dealing with the world, within the reality right now.
Okay. Somebody just asked, what's your favorite thing about playing Magnus? Is there one favorite thing?
No, there's more than one favorite thing, but I'll try and point out... I think with Magnus is what I find really interesting about him is that he does know so much, and he usually will know how things will play out, but he will allow them to be played out until he needs to absolutely step in. And I think that's what's fun, because there's a lot of times when you're like, well, Magnus can fix this. Why don't Magnus just do this? Why don't you just use his magic? And I think there is a little, I wouldn't say laziness, but there's just like he just uses his magic just because he knows, well, we'll get this done faster. But there's a lot of things he could fix, but he chooses not to, just knowing that sometimes you have to, he's learned, allow people to learn from their mistakes and allow people to kind of figure it out on their own.
Now, when you're doing, like, there's a scene in the season 2 premiere where you're on the balcony and you're kind of doing some of your, I don't even know what it's called, where you're doing
magic chi.
Okay.
Mag chi.
Like, how much is that choreographed, or do you kind of have a rhythm that you get into, or is it more just knowing that they're going to instill kind of an orb or something that you're playing with?
Yeah, what I love about that sequence is it was like kind of the birth of we have a new visual effects kind of team, and it's been cool to have someone on set to talk about these things and to have the ability for them to understand, like, okay, well, this is we're gonna go off your movement, but let's talk about like the tone and like the feel of the magic, because it'll play into what the scene is, as opposed to your magic's like this all the time, every single time, and this is what we're gonna do. So I love to have that conversation, and for that, it allowed me to help talk to him and figure out what he's gonna do with special effects wise, and both of us kind of meet in the middle. And with that, it is playing around with the idea, that you can choreograph certain things, but sometimes you
let's go back and forth like this. Go ahead.
But if it's too choreographed, then I feel it doesn't allow anything to allow spontaneity sometimes. Not within the lines, but for how the scene gets played out. So I look at movement in that way as well. But so there's variations, and I think they chose the right one
to
put on screen.
You guys are just joining us. I'm here with Harry Shum Jr. talking about Shadowhunter Season 2. Send us your questions. Tell us where you're from. We're getting a lot of great questions already, so keep them coming. In the trailer for Season 2, we see that Alec is kind of pushing everybody away because he's upset about Jace being gone. What does that do to Magnus? Is Magnus somebody who will let somebody have their space, or does he know he needs him? What can you kind of tease about where we see them, at least in the
Never
premiere?
put baby in the corner.
Yes.
Never
Words
put.
to live by.
Don't put baby in the corner. That's what. Alec is going through a lot right now. Especially particularly in the first episode, and even in Season 2. He was taught to be a shadow hunter, which shadow hunters kill. He was basically a stone cold killer for all of his life, and and I think the important part is that Parabatai is kind of messed up with Alec and Jace, that is causing him to be unbalanced. And with everything going on in the Institute and his parents kind of pushing him down and saying like he can't do certain things, I think it's messing with him. So when Magnus comes in, I think there's an understanding of what he's going through, but hopefully trying to be a helping hand. But also he's never dealt with a shadow hunter dealing with these different issues,
right.
So it's like it's very new to him, even though he's known shadow hunters all the time, but not in a romantic way where he has to deal with it differently, instead of like, shut up, shadow hunter, do your job. It's not that. It's more like, oh gosh, how do I deal with someone who's still confused on how to deal with personal issues.
Okay. We have a question. Will we see Magnus grieve after losing his best friend for centuries? Does that come up at all, or is there too much going on with trying to save the world?
I think I think there's still room for a lot of. I mean, he's grieved a lot of people who died in his life, and I think that's what makes it hard for him to get close to anybody that has whose clock is ticking, and as whether it be a human or even Shadowhunter. And Ragnar was a great friend of his, and I think you'll definitely see people from his past that he does grieve, or he does have. I wouldn't say issues, but doesn't quite know how to make the situation easier. Okay. And that also is like a needle just kind of picking at him constantly, right. And he eventually has to deal with it, and he can't be passive about it anymore.
Will we see other warlocks? Because obviously he's not the
yes.
only one.
Oh, yes. It's going to be fun. You're going to see other warlocks, and you're going to see different types of warlocks in all different shapes and sizes. And I think that's going to be fun, because you would think all warlocks look like Magnus, right? No, they don't. They really don't. They all come in different shapes. And man, that's going to be exciting, because you're going to see... What I'm excited is you're going to see Magnus fight.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, you talked about flashbacks a little bit. I know that they've done a little bit of that in the past.
Yeah.
And, but I'm guessing from what I'm hearing through my spies, there's more.
Who's your spy?
There's more
Who's spying
stuff,
on us?
More flashback stuff coming in Season 2.
Yeah.
Which I think is great, because it's a good way to find out more about characters and what they've been through. Is that true with what we'll see with Magnus?
Yeah. I think with Magnus, you'll see either you'll have certain objects that mean so much to him that kind of come about, and you'll get a lot more backstory on it, and it'll definitely affect how he treats the people around him.
Okay, I like it. How's that for you, just to get that more backstory? Because I'm sure maybe you've created some of it, but then you actually get these pieces that
yes.
you didn't know existed. Yes,
it helps, and what's great, what the writers did, and then Todd and Darren did a great job, is bringing in the book. Some things from the books that play really well into what they've kind of added on with this world that was created, and it definitely helps, because it gets a little deeper. I think we have ideas of, oh, this existed and that existed, and this was Magnus's parents, and now we get the deeper look into how that affects everyone. Instead of just information to have, we get to see like it actually come alive.
So there's a chance we could see Ragnar again? Maybe?
In Shadow World, there's always an opportunity to see a character again.
Good answer. Somebody did ask that. What else are you working on outside of the show? I know the show's keeping you busy right now, but I know you. You always have lots of things going on.
Yeah, right now, for me, it's enjoying my hiatus, and then second of all, is I've been writing a lot, and so I just finished kind of my first script right now, and hopefully to shoot it next year. And right now, what's been cool is still getting reaction from like Single by 30 that came out, and especially when YouTube Red starts rolling out in different countries, it's really amazing these times around. Like usually you do a show and you're like, okay, well that had its window and it's done, but to see people still just watching it and reacting it like it's new, it's pretty amazing times that we live in. So that's been pretty cool.
And Single by 30 is still out there. If people haven't watched it yet, they can go to YouTube Red.
They can binge watch it now on YouTube Red, and it's been pretty cool to see people react to it, because a lot of people are still single if they're before 30, so or even if they're not, if they're married by then, it's still a story that's really interesting and fun for them.
Okay. We still have a few minutes left with Harry Shum Jr. We're talking about Shadowhunters 2 here in the TV Guide magazine offices. I wanted to ask you about Single by 30, because we talked when the show, there we go. How was it to place a character like Peter, especially after spending time playing Magnus, which is such a otherworldly kind of character, but it really showed you definitely do both, but how was it for you?
It's a lot. For me, when I finish the project, I think it's always hard for me sometimes to do ADR on certain projects, because I look at it and I'm like, oh man, how do I get back into that without like fully prepping? Because you bounce out a project, I kind of just like let it go and leave it, and like, okay, I'm done with that project. What do I have in front of me right now? And so it was, I guess it was, I wouldn't say easy in a sense, but it was a lot easier just to kind of jump into a new project, because like Magnus is just in the back of my head, it's just like he's just there, and jumping into it the same way. It's like Peter's gone, Magnus is back. Okay. I think for me it also helps with conversations. You want to multitask, but at the end of the day, you're gonna get the best conversations when you're just one-on-one and you're actually having your full attention with whoever's in front of you.
Yeah, and you've been acting so much lately. When are we gonna see you dance again? It's been, you've been busy in front of the screen.
Possibilities. Acting. There's stuff coming up that I will. What? I think it's always the right things. I want to be able to be in the right project that utilizes dance in the way that I love. I love, and other things I'll just stay as like kind of a viewer and love dance, watching it. But I'm excited for these couple projects that are coming up that I'll definitely be dancing and telling stories through dance.
Nice. Well, I know a lot of people first saw you in Glee. That was a big thing for you. And we found this old TV Guide magazine cover.
Look at that.
That's Harry. On the
grabbing the hot
TV
list.
Guide magazine.
Trying to steal the hot list.
Back in November 2010.
That's right.
Awesome. I mean,
what's funny is we were looking at earlier, if you saw my Insta story, let's see if I can find it real quick. Our little friend.
We saw somebody familiar in the magazine.
Our little friend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, where was it, Ash?
We'll have to find it. We'll find it. But keep sending your questions in everywhere. We got a few more minutes with Harry Shum Jr. Talking about Shadowhunters, going to walk down memory lane right now with Glee. We might have to just, I don't know where it is.
There's that. No, I'm just kidding. I can't find it.
Anyway,
Isaiah was in here.
Isaiah Mustafa from Shadowhunters was also in there for his Old Spice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that. Yeah.
But those fans have stayed with you, haven't they? Like all your Glee fans.
Yeah, a lot of them have, and I'm so thankful, because usually when you get off a project, they move on, and just like kind of you move on. So it's been nice to have a lot of them kind of follow my career, and what's been great is like, oh man, I would never have watched Shadowhunters, or just that world isn't something that I usually those shows I don't watch, and for them to start watching and liking it, it's been pretty cool.
Okay. Shadowhunters question: are the cat eyes real, or are they just special effects? Can you talk about that? Can we spoil any of that?
I am a real cat in the inside. You will never know if it's true or not.
Okay. Just have to keep watching. Keep watching. What are you most excited about with season 2? I know the first season ended in a really cool place, but I'm sure we're going to go a lot of other places outside of just Frank and Jace.
I know, yeah. No, I think it's finding people like I'm excited for the exploration of like Magnus and Simon, their relationship, and Raphael, and knowing a little more about, oh, what did Magnus do? Like, who were his relationships that he had before, his friendships and the mentor when he was a mentor, or he still is. And I think that's what's really fun. And even the other characters, they start interacting with other characters that you didn't see them interacting in season one, and I think that's what's fun. That's what Todd and Darren are really trying to do. They're really trying to draw out the relationships, and not just the romantic ones, but the ones outside of it. Just because it's that's what really gives you an inside look of this, what it means that they might lose in this war that could end it all.
Okay. What is it like for Magnus and Simon to be hanging out? Because they're different kinds of guys, but there might be some similarities. What do we see with them?
I think similarities is them being outsiders. Okay. I think Simon is really not used to this. I mean, he's used to kind of maybe feeling a little bit of an outsider as a teenager, but this is completely like, you basically, your family life, you have to keep all these secrets, and you can't interact with them like you used to. And with Magnus, is just teaching him, like, you're actually stronger than you think, and harnesses his powers and also his confidence. But Alberto is amazing. He's so much fun to act with, and what he brings to the Simon role is really special. And every time we have scenes together, I think we always find something really interesting that didn't live on the page.
Oh, good. Okay, so these are all the countries that people watching. You want to go through that list of countries? Everybody watching this Facebook Live?
Oh, this is great. USA, where's that? Plus Canada, which where we shoot the show in Toronto. Germany, Italy, Brazil, Morocco, Belgium, Denmark, Wales, Romania, Mexico, Sweden, Portugal, Costa Rica, pura vida, Norway, and Nigeria. And I'm sure there's a lot more that we're missing on here, but it's so cool. This is so cool that people all over the world are watching it, and some of y'all should be sleeping or studying or being in school right now, because I'm sure it's not 2:30 for everyone.
That's right. Skipping school. Well, thanks so much, Harry, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You guys, Shadowhunters, January 2nd, 8 p.m. on Freeform. Thanks for being here, Harry.
Oh, yeah.
You can follow Harry Shum.
So excited for people to watch it. Yeah, and you can follow me on Harry Shum Jr. All across the board on social media.
Everywhere. I follow you.
Yes.
You have good stuff.
Thank you.
Good stuff. All right, thanks, everybody. Bye.